So at this point in time, we are still watching the 2020 election. Most of the news media outlets have said, "Oh well, Biden won the election," and they're referring to him as president-elect, even though um, he's not president-elect yet. We're not at that point in time. So he has most of the votes. However, there's um, some legal battles going on. There's evidence of fraud. There's evidence of a lot of things happening that are just not appropriate. Um, and we have lists of quite a few dead people who voted in the election. One gentleman who's 170 years old um, apparently voted in the election. So, um, a lot of voter fraud, a lot of things happening that are inappropriate, and there's evidence of computer systems flipping votes from Joe Biden to Donald Trump, the other way around, from votes that went to Donald Trump were being given to Joe Biden because of computer errors. And um, it's been pointed out that a lot of these glitches are um, unanimously favoring Biden when they happen. So a lot of problems, a lot of things that are happening. We have even so-called conservatives telling Trump just to concede, and like clearly they're cowards. I mean, even if it turns out that Joe Biden had won this election, we still need to make sure that things are being done properly. So even if it was like, hey, Joe Biden got millions more votes than Donald Trump, you would still want to say, hey, we need to go through the numbers and we need to make sure that the books were done correctly. So now that I've given that kind of like context for the history of this video, I'm also watching a show called Avatar: The Legend of Korra, and I think I got the name of that show right. So you had Avatar: The Last Airbender, which I watched through, and it was a great show. One of the best animated shows ever made, probably the best animated show ever made. And then there was a sequel show called The Legend of Korra, which is the main character from the original show is, he's the Avatar, and he lives in a world where people can control the four elements, earth, fire, wind, and water, or earth, fire, air, and water. I guess I'm getting it confused with Captain Planet. And so, you have some people can control fire, some people can control water, and you have this one person called the Avatar who can bend all four elements. So, and this is supposed to be a person that gets reincarnated, and every generation, they're supposed to help bring the world to peace, help make the world a better place. Hey, cool. Look at those. No idea what kind of mushrooms those are, and there's something else there too. No, some kind of fungus there. Don't know what kind it is. Not an expert on that sort of thing, but it's interesting. And so this one person, the Avatar, they're supposed to bring peace and balance to the world. And I'm watching season 2 of Legend of Korra, and the female Avatar, she is has a very different personality than the character from the original series. So in the original series, he's very calm, very down to earth, and he's very much like a young Buddhist monk. But the character in this second series, she's very much the opposite. She's somebody who is not going to back down from a fight. She's somebody who's going to go say, hey, no, we're going to do things. She's somebody who's not afraid to go into battle and is almost a little eager to go into battle. And it's a great show. I'm told I won't like the end. And I do know what happens. So, there's that. But I was watching the show, and there's this political leader who is saying, well, I want to have unity. And he's declaring unity and declaring, he's using those kinds of words and saying, hey, we want to bring our tribes together, and people don't want what he's proposing. They don't want what he's trying to push. And Korra looks at him and she goes, you don't want unity, you want power. And I don't remember if that's the exact quote or not. I wrote it down. But she's saying, you don't want unity, you want power, you want control. And, so this whole unity is just a guise for, I want to be the boss. And you have to do things my way and you have to agree with me. And I really see that with the left. It's kind of interesting that you watch this show and a lot of it really parallels 2020. You see this this push they've had for a long time now, where if you don't agree with what the left has to say, if you don't agree with Marxism, oh, then you're a racist. If you don't agree with stealing money from one person to give to another, oh, well, then you hate black people. And you know what? It's really challenged by the fact that there are many African Americans who do not agree with these policies. Thomas Sowell being one of the most famous. Thomas Sowell, who pointed out that when you got rid of affirmative action in California's universities, the black graduation rate actually went up. So it turns out affirmative action was actually having the reverse effect for what it was claimed to be for. So the goal that affirmative action was claiming to try to accomplish, it was actually counterproductive. And once affirmative action was gone, then things actually started improving for African American college students. And Thomas Sowell goes into why. He explains the economics of that and explains what was going on. And I won't get into that here. But, you look at these policies from the left. It's like, Joe Biden is talking about division and, people being uncivil with each other. And it's like, look, you served under Barack Obama and you served under the man that, if we don't vote for Barack Obama, it's because he's black. It's not because he's a socialist. It's not because he's an evil person. It's because he's black. And it's like, no. So if you want to go around accusing people and you're wanting to embitter people, then when you're pushing us to the edge of a civil war, it's like, you don't get to then turn around and talk about unity. If the left wants to extend an olive branch, they need to do so with a lot of apologies. They need to do so with saying, hey, we're not going to force the Little Sisters of the Poor to give money to Planned Parenthood. We're not going to tell churches that pastors cannot speak out against particular political parties and against particular individuals in politics. And some of you out there who are Christians think, oh yeah, it's great that the church can't speak against particular politicians, so we don't mix politics with the church. And it's like, you look at the history of Christianity, people spoke out against wicked politicians all the time. It was a very common practice, and you saw that even with Spurgeon, where he criticized evil politicians. And he had churchmen who got angry with him because he said that he would not fellowship with a slave owner. And back in the day, guess what? The party of slavery in the United States was the Democrat Party. They were the party of slavery and Jim Crow. And to this day, they're the party that opposes school choice. Joe Biden himself was a segregationist. And, right now, that's not just you can't say, oh, well, that's a thing from way back when. Even Kamala Harris, called him a racist during the debates. So, seriously, what do you want? And to this day, he opposes charter schools. So he's saying there's not going to be any federal dollars given to charter schools. For those of you who don't know, charter schools have been wildly successful. Dr. Thomas Sowell wrote a book on charter schools recently. I highly recommend you read it. He also did an interview on this book, and I haven't gotten to watch the interview yet, but I'm sure it's amazing. It's probably 45, 50, he usually does like 45, 50-minute interviews, so you could probably go find that and enjoy that. So anyway, what do I have to say about this whole unity thing? A lot of times it is just a grab for power. And I'm sure if you look at the history of, if you were to look at the history of some of the evil regimes, I would bet you look at the history of the Nazi Party, you look at the history of the communists, I'll bet they were preaching unity. I don't know that for a fact, but, history has this habit of repeating itself. You look at the history of Babylon, before God confused their languages, they had unity. So, I mean, just because you have unity doesn't mean you don't have wickedness. And a lot of times unity is wicked. That's something people need to understand in politics. That's something people need to understand in the church. Unity is not always a good thing. And let's take a look at, you look at history and you can say, hey, this is an evil thing that's being done, and I'm not going to have unity with you on it. So, this is what we got to choose. We got to say, hey, we can choose to be good, we can choose to be moral, or we can choose to have unity. So morality or unity, take your pick. Because if somebody's going to come to your house and say, you have to give this money to charity, to this particular cause, otherwise we're going to send men with guns after you and put you in jail, that's a problem. If somebody doesn't want to support your particular good cause, then it shouldn't be supported at the point of a gun. So anyway, that's what I have to say about that. And I could probably say more, but I tend to be long-winded in these videos, and I decided I'm going to practice and try to be better with that. So keep watching my videos. Leave comments in the comments section. Let me know what you think. This is Greg, out.